Hey everybody, it's Jesse. Um, Sorry I couldn't stream yesterday. Wasn't feeling good. Actually, not really feeling that great today, but I had to come in. I had an important meeting this morning that I didn't want to skip, and I had some login info for a server that I needed to do some work on, and I didn't have the login info at home. I just had it on my computer here, so I had to come in. Um, so if I sound a little bit off today, it's because I'm not feeling well. I apologize in advance. Um, Today, we're going to do a live search feature. So I've done this before, but not with React. Uh, or I should say, I have done this on a React site before, but I kind of just adapted what I had done from other sites, which was in jQuery, and I didn't really make it, proper React code. So today I want to try to do it what would be in a more correct way within React and not use the jQuery. Before, basically, I was adding and removing elements from the DOM with jQuery, which is not really great to do in React. So I don't want to do that. So I'm not sure how long this will take or if it'll work since I haven't done it this way before. But the basic concept is you have an input, a text input. The user types as soon as they type in a few letters, then you send a request to the WordPress API searching for any post of that post type that you're looking for, which in our case would be the resources. Search for any post that contains that string, and then you get a response back, and you can see the cards pop up as you're typing. So usually I like to do maybe like once you get 3 characters in, then it'll refresh with maybe a timeout, so we're not sending like a million API calls when someone's typing. But like I said, I've gotten that working on a few sites before, but not exactly in this way. So that's the goal. And then the last show we were trying to get the what was it? Oh, the masonry layout to work. So let me just show you that. Actually, I was working on this page right before I started, and I changed something and it broke the page. And now I'm just trying to look at what I changed. I don't really know what I would have done that would have broken the page, but let me take out. I know I added some down here. I'll just take this whole section out for now. I don't really think it would have caused any problems, but I just want to get it working so I can show you. Alright, so let me bring this over on the screen. Let me find there we go. Alright, so I can't take credit for this. Fabian, who was watching, must have been watching on, gosh, what day was it? Today's Wednesday, so Monday, sorry. Must have been watching on Monday, noticed that I was having trouble getting this to work with the tabs, actually submitted a pull request, which was awesome, and you could see some of the code for that, and I'll show it to you again what he did. So thank you very much. That saved me a lot of time and frustration from trying to figure out why I couldn't get it to work. And let me just show you really quick basically what he had done. And I don't know that I can even explain it properly since he did it. If you're watching Fabian and you want to explain it more in the live chat, please feel free. So he took, let me see where we're at. Actually, let me show you the Git diff, because that'll make it so much easier for you all to see. Let's see, where am I at? Oh, it was on a different. Was it on a different branch? Yeah. Oh, no, it shouldn't matter. Sorry. All right, let me make this a lot bigger so you can see. Okay, so some of this stuff, I had just taken this out, so he's bringing this component back in. If you remember, we were using that React Masonry component. So he's setting the state here basically for which tab is active. So the all tab is active right off the bat. And then you can see down below that'll change based on what tab is clicked, and he's gotten rid of a lot of this stuff because I was failing to use Masonry properly. So this is the bulk of what was added. So you can see the components are now here. Okay, well, it's the template kind of for this component exists up here as a constant, as a variable, and we have all the tabs here, key value pairs, and here we go. Okay, so here's where we used to have this template. I could show you here. So we used to have this template all right here, and it was just looping through everything once the API call was made. Not only that, but we had it 4 times here for each of our 4 options. Now we just have it once, okay, and it loops through. So this is the tabs. So it goes through the tabs, and it renders the components for that tab inside here without having to render all of them in 4 here. So pretty awesome solution. It actually shortened up things quite a bit. If you could see, took out big chunks of code. So cleaned everything up a lot, and in addition to making Masonry work. So I really appreciate that. And this is on GitHub if you want to take a look at it and kind of go in more depth. I don't want to take too much more time on it, just because, if you read what this stream was supposed to be about and you're waiting for me to do that, I don't want to disappoint. So really awesome. Thanks again, Fabian. And let's get back here. One other thing Fabian did that was also awesome was he pointed out, if you remember on Monday, I had some static on my with my mic. I got a new mic and I thought something was wrong with my mic. And he had pointed out in the comments that maybe I had my phone next to the mic and that was causing the static. And in fact, I did have my phone right next to the mic. And when I had used it earlier from home, I did not have my phone next to it. So I think that was the problem. Let me know if you hear the static again, just in case it wasn't that, but I'm almost positive that was the issue. So anyway, Fabian's probably one of my favorite people right now since he's helped me out so much in the last few days. I just checked the live chat for the first time. Sorry, I'd kind of forgotten about it. A lot of people saying hi, so hey everybody. Thanks for watching. I see a lot of new people, so really cool. Okay, Fabian's watching too. Awesome. Let's see. All right, awesome. Patrick linked the GitHub page that shows what I was just showing you there, what Fabian had done, in case you want to check it out. All right, so let me go in here and just show you what I was trying to do. And I haven't really gotten that much done. You can see, like, I typed the name for a function of where things are going to happen. And then I had also tried to put in an input, and I had just copy and pasted this from the documentation for Materialize. You can see it even says first name, which is not what I want. I want it to be search. And I was just trying to change it so that it would be valid in React. So I had to use like class name and HTML4 instead of just 4. And I don't remember if I have to change. Oops, there we go. I knew there had to be something else that I was missing. And actually, I don't even need this class, so I'm going to get rid of that. All right, and for some reason, when I had pasted this in at first, it caused the page to break. So that's why I just pulled it out so I can show you what was going on. But now, actually, let me get my page up here. All right, so that is not broken now. Not the best looking thing, but I'm not worried about style right now. All I'm worried about is we have somewhere where I can put input into. Okay, awesome. First step completed. I think I'm going to make this bigger first of all, so y'all can see, and it might be easier as we go. There we go. To make that maybe half the page, and that way you can see the changes as we're making them on the site. Okay, that'll work. Let me know if I need to increase the font size even more. All right. Sorry, I just gotten a message from a coworker. I just want to make sure it wasn't some emergency. Okay, it's a minor problem. I can check it out after the stream. All right, so now that we have that working, I want to add. I've never actually tried to do this particular thing in React, so if anyone watching has done this and I'm messing this up, let me know. But I was checking out briefly beforehand how to handle like key press events in React. So I think I can just use like on key up. I was trying to figure out how exactly it's supposed to be typed in terms of case. So I'm guessing it's something like that. Okay, Rob had a question in the live chat. Is there a link to the first stream for this? So that the entire, so the first one where I actually started to work on this site is on my channel, and I think it's called Building a Website as Fast as I Can, because that was the original goal. And then we got some extra time, and now since the site's launched, we have even more time to add extra features. Okay, so I'm just going to try to call, what did we call this? Was it this? I'm gonna use console. I know there are better ways to test, but the console log is just it's just so nice and familiar, and it shows up in the console well on the video. So okay, so what I want to see happen is right. That should be it. Broke. What are they doing? On key up is not. Oh yeah, shoot. That's not what I called it. I called it search get search results. There we go. All right. Not. I don't know what that was about. Maybe I did something and it broke. So what we want to do, I want to inspect this so I can see what's going on here, and that's text is definitely big enough. That's not really what we wanted. It did say it did say key up quite a few times, but that's not what I wanted here. I'm gonna let me clear this just to make sure. Okay, yeah, that's definitely not working the way I wanted it to. I'm gonna refresh and see. We're getting it once. Maybe I'm using the wrong syntax. I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna check it out. Maybe I have to case it wrong. Maybe it needs to be. I'm just gonna try this quick, because if this is the problem, then that should solve it very quickly. Nah. Alright. Okay, so it is supposed to be that case. Let me refresh again just to see. No, definitely not working. Alright, let's see what's going on then. Okay, this is the input. I don't want this placeholder either. Let me get rid of that while I'm in here. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing. So Sebastian in the live chat saying it is on key up. What I'm calling. What am I missing? I mean, I'm not crazy here, right? This is normally how we call a function. And make sure get search results console.key, right? Yeah, that should work. Yeah, for some reason, all I'm getting here is a key up. It's console logging key up once when I refresh the page, and then it's not working after that. Alright, so let me go to the documentation or Stack Overflow. Oh, okay. Thank you for that. And sorry it took so long. There's like a delay, probably like a minute or so. So Anton, thank you. Anton said don't invoke the function. So I figured it was something with that. It just didn't look right to me, but I just couldn't figure out exactly what it was, and that was it. Alright, so let's check this out now. Oops. Let's move this over. Kia, yes. Okay. So nice. That's exactly what we wanted. Okay, so I mean that was kind of the easy part. I knew that that was possible. I just hadn't actually done an on key up in React before, so just needed to get. Well, I just needed to know the capitalization here, and this invoking the function was just a dumb mistake on my part. Okay, so now what we need to do is within here, we need to fetch the data from the WordPress API, and not just any data. It has to take the value of this input, wherever this input is. It takes take the value of this input and then search for that. Then it has to, basically what I want it to do is render cards based on that search into here, and then also those same cards would be rendered, you know, when you click on these, it wouldn't be all the audio anymore. It would simply be the category, or the resources in the audio category that match that search. So maybe I should let me put this in. Oops. I'm gonna put this in here. Sometimes it's helpful, at least for me, to kind of just put in plain, you know, English what I want to accomplish, so I don't forget. Because I have it in my head right now, but once I get into it, I might skip a step. So step one would be get input value, and nope. And step two is make API call based on value, and then we want to render cards from. Okay, so that's it. Basically, we can break that down into 3 steps, and that's what we need to do. All right, I just checked the analytics for this. We had like almost 100 viewers right off the bat, and then it dropped down, and now we're at like just below 60. So, guess I lost a lot of people. This is kind of back up to normal. We were a little bit low on Monday, but I didn't realize that Apple's all that stuff was going on, so that might explain it. All right, so first we need to get that value on key up. So where is it at? I keep losing the input. Let me make this a bit bigger while I'm. There we go. Okay, so here's the input. We have an ID of search. Okay. So I'm just going to do this. I don't know if there's a better way to do this in React, but I'm just going to go get, document, get elements by ID, and we want the search element, and then I think it's just value. We'll see. Let's see what that does, and let's save this. Let search term equal. Oh, and we may as well bring back our console log. Oops. Okay. So basically, I'm going to narrate a little bit, and I know some of you in here are way past. You missed an R and search. Patrick just said, I'm sorry, Patrick, I'm not sure what you are referring to. Oh, I missed an R in search. All right, awesome. That's one of the really great things about live streaming is, normally when you code, you make little mistakes like that, you don't realize it, and then you try to run the code, and depending on what you're trying to do, sometimes it takes a while to figure out what the mistake was. But in this case, right now I have 64 people watching me do this, so somebody is going to catch my mistakes early enough so that it doesn't really mess things up. So thanks, Patrick. I appreciate that. Get element by ID. Did I also mess up get element by ID? Oh, you were just telling me that was where it was in. Okay. Awesome. Sorry if you're watching this recording later. I'll try to do my best to let you know what is being said in the live chat, but occasionally I do just respond and I forget about that. So try to watch it live if you can next time. But I know not everybody can because of the time zone difference. I was about to say something and I got distracted. Oh, I wanted to say I'm going to narrate this and kind of explain what I'm doing in a little bit more depth because I know there are some people that are beyond me that watch this and they help me a lot. But there are some people who are just beginning, and I want to make sure that they understand as much as possible what's going on. So, for instance, like Taylor in the live chat said, just learning to code, so it doesn't really know a lot of the stuff that's going on. So, I'm going to do that. So sorry if this is really basic for you, but anyway, this let is just like a variable, but this is kind of a newer JavaScript way to do this. So there are some advantages to using let instead of just var, which you would normally use. I'm not really going to go into that right now, but in general, most of the times where you use var, you could use let and it'll work just fine. It does not work in older browsers though, so you have to be careful about that, and you have to transpile the code. So anyway, this is just the vanilla JavaScript way to get an element on the page by ID. So that input tag that we had down here, I'm not going to scroll down to it right now, we gave it an ID of search. So now we're just getting that. And what I want to get is the value from that. So I want to get whatever the user typed in. And I'm just going to console log this just to make sure that we're getting what the correct value, and that I've set this up right. At this point, it's pretty basic, so it should work. So I'm going to save that in case I haven't already. And let's get our console ready. And whoa, ID is not a function. Did I spell that? Oh, should it not be D, or should it be? No, it is, right? It is ID. What am I doing? Search stem equal document get ID. I'm sure somebody's going to tell me in the live chat what's wrong, because it's probably some silly mistake. Man, if I have to look up get element by ID, I'm gonna be embarrassed by that. Is it a lowercase d? Okay, good. I don't know what's up with my it probably just auto-corrected because I had spelled it wrong to begin with. So that's what kind of threw me whenever when I went to go change it and it auto-corrected right back. Alright. Thanks for that. I was in the process on my other screen of just looking it up. I mean, that's how it goes. You can't have all the syntax memorized. Although that one I use pretty often, so that surprised me. I couldn't remember that. But you can see this is working just like we want it to work. So every time we change it, we get that. That's actually a cool effect. I like that. It looks cool. All right, so step 1 is completed. Let's see. Now we need to make an API call. Okay, so here's what I know how to do an API call with fetch on the client side, but here's what I'm wondering about. I am importing fetch here, somewhere here. Where am I importing this? Do I not need to import it? I thought I had to import isomorphic fetch at some. Yeah, there it is. I just couldn't find it. Okay, so I'm importing this isomorphic fetch, and then I'm using it here and get initial props. But this runs server side. Okay, so that's why I'm using. That's the term isomorphic means it runs on the server or on the client. This runs server side, but it also runs client side. Like when we do our client side routing and we go between pages. This will also run. That's why we still have the data on the pages. I mean, I know there's caching and a service worker and things, but even if we didn't have all that, this would still run and we'd still get data. It would just run on the client side. But I don't want to use this outside of this get initial props function, because Next.js, which is what we're using, we're running React with that. I think they do some things behind the scenes to know whenever to use this, how to use this on the server and the client. I'm afraid if I put this down here and try to run on the client, I'm not going to get the right results. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to use fetch normally how I would use it on the client side, even if I wasn't using React. And I'm going to see how that works. If anybody has any input on that idea, let me know. But that's the next step. That's what I'm going to try to do here. Let me copy and paste, because that's always faster. So I thought I had it up already. Let me see if I can find it. Maybe I had it up. Where did I have this up? This is a previous, here we go. This is a project I had done earlier, a few months ago. And so anyway, so I had this that I already made, so I figured why not reuse that. So let's see. I don't need this. Oops. Okay. All right. So basically, what it's going to do is I'm going to call. I can copy like some of this stuff. I am going to change this. We're going to leave resources. Well, we're basically going to leave this, but I need to add in that search parameter. I don't really need to add it right now because I need to test just to make sure that I can call. So I'm not going to complicate it by adding in a search, which I could mess that up. Better to just do one change at a time, and then at least in test, then at least at least it's easier to find out what went wrong. So basically, when I call get JSON, is that how it goes? Yeah. So when I call get JSON, all right, I'm going to pass it a URL, which is going to be the combination of these two. So let's just do that now. Get JSON, and do I have to write this? I don't know if I have to write this when I'm up here, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you didn't already know, you're joining for the first time, I don't claim to be an expert on any of this, especially React, because I've only done a few projects with React. So If it seems like at times I'm just kind of winging it, it's because I'm learning on the go. But that's how the show is about, just watching me in my normal job. And I think normally with developers, a lot of what you do is just learning on the go. At least that's been my experience. So I hope that you all learn something from this, but I actually learn a lot from you as well as I kind of struggle through this. So if you were expecting like a very detailed and thought out tutorial or something, that's not what you're going to get in these videos, which those videos are awesome, but I'm not really knowledgeable enough about this to be the person to do a video like that. At least not yet. Maybe one day I'll be knowledgeable enough. Okay. And I'm tempted to just console log this whole thing. This whole JSON thing. Why not? I kind of want to see what that'll look like, actually. I need to probably save this, but I could actually probably use const in here, right? I'm not going to change it right now, but just for I had mentioned before what let was. You can also use this instead of error, and it's const. And this is like if you have something you want to be immutable, like you don't want it to change, a variable that won't change, and you don't want it to be allowed to change later on within that same scope, you use const. And I had used let it. Let is like my default go-to because it usually works for everything. But now that I'm looking at this, this isn't going to be changed within, it's going to, every time this is called, this will be changed, but it's not like going to be changed down here within the same function call. So I probably could just use const for this, and I'm just going to do it for consistency since I'm already using it. And now I'm going to make this, do I want to call this data in here? We're calling this data, const data. For now, maybe I shouldn't. We'll just call it WP data for WordPress data. And also, if you're joining and you're wondering about the WordPress API part, I'll show you what gets returned from the API in a minute. I think in the last video I did go into a little bit how I set up the API, some of the custom things I was doing. So if you're a little lost on that, you can check out the last video. I may do like a full video on the WordPress API at some point if there's enough interest in it. Alright, so is this set up? I think we have this. Nope. Missing one thing. Alright. Let's see. Oh, okay. In the live chat, I haven't checked the live chat in a while, so I'm gonna just check it here, just for a minute, see if there's any questions. Oh, Sebastian tried React on a project with Next. So jQuery is killing you. Oh, okay. Kebian. I think I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but Kebian 6020 says I think you can use await just fine, even on the client side, since Next auto compiles ES7, ES5. That's good to know. If this doesn't work, I have a problem with this, I will definitely go back and switch to that. Also, I might just switch to it at some point if I have time. I think it would look better if I was using it in the same way, on the same, the same component. And Kebian says, I use const by default and use let only to denote I'm going to change it. Okay, that's actually interesting. I never thought about it that way. So I had just mentioned that my default is usually let, and then I only use const when I think I need it. But he's doing the opposite. That's honestly probably a safer way to code it, is to use const by default, and then that way there's less chance of you accidentally changing const. Oh, Kebian also says you can change the properties of a const object and even add new ones. You just can't replace the whole object with another thing. Anne mentions that WP data is a promise. You have to either await or then on it. Good call. Thank you for pointing that out. And you know what? I actually did do that. Was it here? I am doing that here. What is this one? Search.js. At some point, and I'm just going to look at this. This is how I implemented the same search thing with some extra features and things with jQuery stuff. So if you want to look at it, I just want to check one thing out here. Okay. Yeah, I did do that here. I just wanted to double check how I handled that here and what I did inside here. Okay. This is like, I almost, there's so much here that, like, obviously I have these to-dos left in here and different things, but it definitely works, and it did exactly what I wanted it to do. I wish I would have had time to refactor this, though. I look back on it now and I'm like, yeah, it works, but it's kind of a mess. Just don't always have the time before I have to launch to get all those things in order. All right, then. Okay, where are we at? Alright, so let's take this out for now. Some do get JSON if you for RAM, and then I can just chain it with a then, right? Let me see how I did this here. Okay, I just named the data there, so I guess I can just close. And now I can okay. Now I'm going to console log the data there just for now. I mean, obviously we're going to do other stuff with it later on. Thanks for catching that. See, normally I test a bunch of times and then troubleshoot, but now I can't even hit save fast enough before you all catch my mistakes. So thanks for that. I'm sure it is speeding things up for me. All right, let's see what's going on. Where's my console? There we go. All right, so let's see. I'm not really sure about how I did fetch here. Yeah, and it looks like, oh, something was happening. Cannot read property get JSON of null. Well, that's interesting. Oh, okay. Patrick says console.dir console.table would be better. Actually, that's new for me. I've never heard of console.table. I've never used it. I'm going to use that. Because I've never seen that. That's cool. And what did I do? Maybe, is it because I used this and I didn't need to? What was that? I was trying to read this error message. Cannot get property, get JSON of null. Okay. Let's see. Okay, then why? Oh. I wonder if this got messed up since I'm in here. And I have to... How did I do this before? Okay, Rohan says get JSON URL. Maybe this get inside, get JSON. Oh, good call. Fabian, you are just like on point today with catching these things. So I had copied and pasted these two functions in and didn't modify them at all. But it makes sense. Like if I have to call, normally you have to call this in a React component if you're going to call these functions. So I didn't do that because I'm calling this get function inside this get JSON. So that may be the issue. Okay, so it should be this get URL. Yes. All right, that might fix it. Let's try it out. And Fabian also says this was the other thing that I was worried about. It's not bind. This isn't binded to the class. So this in this case is not referring to like when I called this down here. It's not referring to the same this. So I used to bind. How should I bind this? I know there's something that you can use an arrow function and it binds. It does something with binding. I don't use arrow functions often enough to remember what exactly happens with the binding. Does anybody know? Romanmatic, right when I was saying this, he puts an arrow function in. He said change get search results to an arrow function for autobind. So awesome. Okay, and what syntax? That's it. I'm no good at remembering syntax unless it's something I use constantly. So I'm like always having to look it up. I don't know if is it like that for any of you? You just frequently have to look up syntax stuff. And where is that? There we go. And it happens like at least for me, it's so easy to lose lose it. Like let's say if I like went on vacation, I didn't do any coding for a week. It feels a little bit weird getting back into it. Like things that you used to type constantly, now you have to think about again. I don't know. I've had that happen to me certainly, and since I'm using this here, I should probably bind that as well. Right? Let's try it out now. Oops. No, I did it wrong. You do it in construction, that's ugly. Yes, what did I do that was wrong here? Oh, obviously. Right? All right. I should probably explain arrow functions for the people that are kind of new. Let me test this first just to see if I did it right. Yes. Okay, awesome. And actually, thanks, Patrick, for letting me know about this. Wow, this is a lot. For letting me know about the console.table instead of console log. Look at that. That looks really nice. That's so much easier to read than what you would normally get. I mean, you normally get like this thing with, you'd have to keep opening it up. It would be nested. So, very nice. I don't. All right. So normally it would look like this. Actually, you wouldn't get it in a table format. Great. And in fact, we are getting the data that we want. Awesome. So step 2 is almost finished, okay, because we are getting the data that we want. This is all working properly, but we actually want to do a search based on what was typed in. That's why, like, I was getting a bunch of data for everything, even though I just typed in a string of nonsense. I shouldn't have gotten results for that, right? So I'm going to go back to here to get, because this will probably be the easiest way for me to find how I did the search. Wait a second. No, that wasn't it. It was in this one. Okay. So here's the search URL. Okay. So basically all I have to do is, in this case, I was actually using multiple post type. So I'm gonna need to do this pretty soon. So maybe tomorrow or something I'll do a video and highlight this. This is really cool. It lets you get multiple post types, obviously, just like it says, within this one call. So in this case, I wanted to search basically nearly everything on the site. I don't want to do that here, so I'm not going to do all that, but just thought it'd be cool to point that out. So I'm going to take this and put that in right here. Okay, so we want to put the search term here, and I'm going to use template literal syntax. And actually, so let me do a little EX6 lesson here. Not that I know what I'm talking about too much with this, but I do use these. So arrow functions, this is like shorthand way to do functions sometimes. So you can see, like, I did have the parentheses over here like in a normal function, and I add URL in there, but now I moved it out here, and you have this little, this is why it's called an arrow function, you have this little thing here. Okay, this works differently inside of arrow functions. I'm not going to get too deep into it because I'm not confident that I could explain this without messing something up, and I don't want to mislead you. So, check out arrow functions. But basically, within React, I usually use arrow functions, like in this case, to make sure that this means what I want it to mean. I see arrow function used in a lot of other ways, so there's definitely other reason to use them, even possibly just to make the code a bit more concise. And then down here I use template literal syntax, and I know I've talked about this before in my live streams, but if you've never seen this stream or heard me talk about it, these work just like single or double quotes. So anything in here is a string, but if you want to use JavaScript inside here, either a variable or any other part of JavaScript that you want to use, you put a $sign and a curly bracket, whatever your JavaScript is in here, and then you end it with another curly bracket, and now you're back into string mode. So whereas normally you would have to do something like this, where you would put your JavaScript, and then you would do this, and you'd finish out your string, right? This is not that bad, but imagine if I was going to put in a lot of different variables in here. It could get super long really fast. So this is nice. The other nice thing you can do is I can do this and put that in there, and that's okay, right? that'll work. I can actually put, I've used these template literals to actually do like HTML templates before, and I've had a huge chunk of HTML here with variables in there, and used it basically in sites that I've kind of done, try to do like single page app style sites but using jQuery. So I don't try to do that anymore because it kind of gets a mess after a while, and if it gets complex. But if you have something simple, it's definitely doable, and template literals makes it way more doable than normal. At least that was my experience with it. All right. I'm going to check the live stream really quick. Umberto says, what is this vacation? I mentioned going on vacation. I actually am going to go on vacation the week after next, so I don't know if I'll be able to do streams from vacation. My wife probably will not want me to do any streams, but I don't know. If the internet's fast enough, maybe. I doubt it's fast enough, though. And let me see. I have a few other comments here. Okay, Bromomatic says, wait, how is this get URL working when it isn't bound to the class like the other methods had to be? I don't know. I'm not exactly. It worked. Obviously, it worked. So I'm not gonna question it right now. Let's get it all working, and then we'll see. Maybe if anybody else, wants to take a crack at answering that question, go ahead. Shane asks, how far should you be through the front-end cert program, through freeCodeCamp's front-end cert program, before you try learning React? And Patrick says, learn plenty of JavaScript first. Yes, I would agree. JavaScript, React is, it's JavaScript heavy. Like, everything is within JavaScript, right? This is all, so definitely JavaScript is a big help. I'm not really a good example of, I never got through the front end program in freeCodeCamp before I started doing React stuff, and that was basically like I just got really busy with work and had to do things for clients. I needed things to work, so I kind of just didn't have that much time anymore, and I wasn't at one point I was really disciplined, and I spent at least an hour every day doing some type of training. And then I got busy and I wasn't disciplined about it, so I just kind of moved on. I really do want to finish everything in the freeCodeCamp curriculum at some point. I just need to put my foot down and say, like, all right, first thing in the morning, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take an hour, and I'm not going to check my email or anything like that and get distracted. So it'll happen one day, I guess. But so it's possible to do this stuff without getting through the front end certification. It will definitely be easier for you if you get through. I know my React, there are parts of React that are still a struggle for me. But when I first started working with it, it was super hard for me to understand what was going on. Okay, so now that we're going to have this search term going here, let's just test it out. So I'm going to save that. And what we should get now is we should get our results back, and we'll see them. We'll see our results, but they will only be the results that we get for searching. So we'll try, let's see we'll just type in some nonsense again. Let me clear this, because that's a lot. So, actually, that's weird. How did I get that from that nonsense? That should not have happened like that. I should have gotten some nonsense. Okay, so this might actually be useful to people who haven't seen this yet, to actually see what the result is in the browser. And this will also be useful to me to make sure that what I'm doing is actually the right way to do it. So search and I don't know. Okay, that returned nothing, which is what it should have returned. But let me check. Let me just check. Do something like the. Okay, awesome. So that is actually working the way we want it to. If you could see, like, this is what we get back from the WordPress API. It's a JSON format, and I'm specifying what I want. So I said I only want the title, and I only want advanced custom fields. Normally you'd get a lot more data than this, but I don't need that data, so I don't want it sent back. Okay, so we get the title, and then these are custom fields that I've created, and I've used the plugin Advanced Custom Fields to do that, and another plugin to actually expose those fields to the API, or through the API. So that's working. So we know this is working. I'm not exactly sure why it wasn't working. Search value. Well, it wasn't working before. Let's try it again. Let me do a hard refresh and try this again. Occasionally when the next comes with hot module reloading, so you don't, like, it just refreshes and you don't have to, like, you hit save and stuff changes on the page, right? You don't have to refresh. But occasionally I'll find that sometimes I change something here and it doesn't exactly work right away. I have to do a reload. So I'm not sure why that happens. But sometimes you will have to do that. Alright, I want to try, let's see. Okay, cool. So I'm not getting anything there, which is what we want. There we go. But now we have that. So nothing, but if I type in a word. Okay, so that's really cool. So if you see, if it's nonsense, you know, obviously we're not getting anything back. And we are getting something back if it's a real word. So great. So that part is working just like we want it to. The only other thing that I'd like to do with this is I'd like to do two things to slow this down. One, I don't want it to work with just one or two characters. I mean, there's not really any meaningful words that are only 2 characters long, so you wouldn't need to search for it. Like, you wouldn't need to search for of or is, or, you know, there's not going to be characters like that. So I want to make it so that it only works if you have at least 3. I also want to make it so that I think there ought to be maybe some delay so that, you know, people wouldn't just, let's say I just hold in this key. Actually, I can't hold it in. That's interesting. I don't know why it's doing that. But let's say I just wanted to press this really fast. Like, this just made a bunch of calls. I don't want that to happen. I don't want to make all these calls to the API over and over again. So I do want there to be some sort of timeout. I don't want it to be too long because then it'll seem like it's not responsive to the user. And somebody typing fast, you know, maybe it will take a second before it happens. So I might have to play with the timing of that to see what's reasonable in terms of, you know, like how many milliseconds should I wait before I let it happen again. But basically, step 2 is complete. Aside from that little bit of fine tuning that I can always do later, that's not really essential to this working. Those are just things that'll help prevent too many calls being made. The site actually is not getting very much traffic now, so I'm not worried about like anything crashing or slowing down a lot. I checked the analytics yesterday, and it looked weird. So it basically looked like a spike in traffic, a spike, a spike, a spike, a spike, right? And I was like, why is there spikes in traffic? And then I looked at the time of each spike. Guess what time of day each spike was for this site, for the live version of this site? Let's see. I'm gonna give you a few minutes to guess what would be happening at some point in the day where I would get huge spikes in traffic on that site. Well, while you think about that for a second, I'm going to catch up on the live chat. Bromomatic says, I finished the entire front end cert before touching React. It was a good experience getting used to doing everything in the DOM with jQuery/JavaScript before relying on frameworks. I agree with that. Like I said before, I didn't do it that way, and I think it was harder for me because I didn't do it that way. And I still want to go back and finish it, and I think it'll help. Even now, having worked with React, I think it still will help me. Bromomatic also says maybe it's changed, but I don't think it's changed yet. But the data visualization course was when you started doing projects in React for the freeCodeCamp. I think you're right. I know there's the beta version of freeCodeCamp it's not out yet, so the order might be different there. I haven't looked at the beta stuff for a long time, so I don't know where it's at now. I can't remember where it was at the last time I looked at it. John asks, how come you use fetch instead of Axios or jQuery for AJAX calls? And Patrick answers, fetch is the newer replacement. That is 100% correct. Yeah, fetch is newer. The only reason you wouldn't use fetch, in my opinion, fetch is the easiest out of any other way I've ever used to make calls like that. It's just so much shorter to do, and it returns promises that are easy to work with. So I recommend using fetch. The only reason you wouldn't use fetch is if for some reason you had to support an older browser and you couldn't use the polyfill. So normally, like, you would have a polyfill that you would use to make fetch work on older browsers. And actually, I need to double check because since I use this version of fetch instead of this, I may have to include a polyfill somewhere. Since this is all just on the client, I'll have to see. I don't know what this will actually get turned into by next. So maybe I won't, maybe I will. I'll have to check that. Maybe it would be better just to use this. Yeah. So I didn't think about that before. I'll have to keep that in mind and make sure I test this on a browser where I know fetch doesn't work and make sure that it works. All right, so Sebastian says 2 p.m. stream time, right? That is the answer to the question. So, and Rohan says it was us. Yeah. So it turns out that most of the traffic to this site at this point, I mean, it just launched, it hasn't been live, and it hasn't been advertised quite as much as it could have. But the majority of the traffic to this site at this point is from you all. When I'm live streaming, you go to the site and you check it out. And that's the traffic. So the site's really been getting low traffic. So my original point was simply I'm not that worried about too many calls messing up the site because there's not a lot of traffic right now. Right? But at some point, if it gets a lot more traffic, that will be an issue. So I'd rather just kind of deal with it now, or at least at some point, within maybe this week or next week, deal with it and not have to worry about it later. If you remember last week, we added load balancing, but that was only for the React part of the site. Remember, the site has two parts. There's the React part, which exists on one server, and then the WordPress part exists on another server. There's only one WordPress server. So even though there's two React sites on two different servers that we're balancing the load between, all the calls, the API calls, still go back to one WordPress. So that's a point where it could slow things down. So I do want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to speed that up. And there's some caching and things that are going to happen. There's already some caching in place with the React site, and there's some caching that I'm going to put in place on WordPress once we get the content filled out a bit. And that should take the load down. But when it comes to the searches, these are usually unique. There are probably going to be some terms that are frequently searched, but, as I'm typing in and I type in like a partial word, it's like, nobody's going to search for that normally, right? So that's not going to be cached. Odds are no one searched for that before. It's not going to be cached, so it's not really going to help with caching. So if there's anything that's going to slow this down at the level of WordPress, it's going to be the search. At least that's what I think. If anyone else has any insight into that, let me know. But that's kind of the only place that I know of at this point that could really, really slow it down. All right. Okay, Rohan says fetch is just better than XHR. Anything this or late last year has fetch. Yeah, I agree. Definitely with Rohan. Fetch is way easier to use. Fabian says isomorphic fetch requires node fetch in the server and a fetch polyfill on the client. So I'm wondering if Next takes care of that polyfill already because we're using isomorphic fetch. Will that then take care of it? I mean, I shouldn't really worry about it because I can test it very easily when I need to by looking at it in older browsers. So I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm not going to put this live before I test it, and I'm definitely going to test it in some older browsers just to double check that. So not going to worry about it right now. Just know that is an issue. If you are using fetch, depending on what you're using, it may or may not work in every browser. So in this case, it could be that Next automatically puts that polyfill in and it does work. But if you were building this site with something else, or just kind of a static site, you would need to include the polyfill on your own. I have included on some of my other projects, so if you check out my GitHub page, let me think if there's a project. Actually, I don't know. I think they might be private repos. So I don't know. If I can think of a project that I've done recently where I use the polyfill for fetch and it's not private, I will let you know. Or maybe put the link in the description or something. But it's not that hard to do. Just you could look up fetch polyfill or something like that. It's pretty easy to add to your project. I don't want to dismiss it and say it's easy. I know people say that a lot, and I don't want anybody to feel bad if it's not easy for you. It's easy if you're used to doing things like that. If you've never done anything like that before, then of course it's not easy. It wouldn't be easy for me the first time I did it. So I don't want to make it seem like it's really like anybody should be able to do it right away, because that's certainly not the case. All right. Erton asks, is this Sublime? It is Atom. And Sebastian answered, said it was Atom. Erton says, looks cool, but takes ages to start. Yeah, you're correct. But you know how I get around that problem? I never close it or shut off my computer. So here's a tip. Here's the number one lesson for today. If you want Atom to perform better, never close it, because once it's open, it's not bad. I'm joking a little bit with that one, but it is true that I rarely ever close it, so I don't notice the slowness of it because I'm never really starting it. Okay, let's go on. Right now we need to render the cards. Okay, so that's the last thing. And okay, not bad. The stream's been... How long is this stream going? All right, an hour and 15 minutes. Let me see what time it is. Okay. We still have 44 viewers. I say we should go for it. I was thinking about just ending it and doing this tomorrow, but I say we go for it. We still have a decent amount of viewers. So if you hear me just randomly laugh, it's probably at something in the live chat. So I'm not insane, especially if you're watching this later on. It's just they were in the live chat. some people were commenting on my solution to make Atom faster, or to at least make it seem faster to me. All right, so this step, I'm not going to lie, this step was what worried me the most. I was pretty sure that I'd be able to figure these out easily, and these went really, really well, really fast. Not too many issues. The only issues in getting these to work were really like either misspellings or syntax errors on my part. So rendering it to the cards, I'm going to think out loud for a minute here to see if we can, let you know what I'm thinking, so you could give me some of your ideas, and also just to make it clear in my head. So, all right, so we have the data here. Okay, so within this, we need to do something with the data to get it to here, right? To render, to fill out all of this stuff. Right now, this is getting in by this props data, filter. Now, what I'm thinking right off the bat, and this certainly wouldn't be, it's never good in coding to repeat yourself if you don't have to, right? Right? They said, what is it? They call it dry coding. Do not repeat, right? So anyway, what I'm thinking right off the bat is, hey, I could just like copy this, and instead of using this props data, I could use like whatever variable I save this to. Right, and then somehow re-render. Okay, so you see, maybe if you're good with React, you're probably wondering what the heck I'm thinking. Maybe it's obvious to you, but for me, somehow the jump from this data to filling this out, and so like completely removing everything that's here, and then filling it out again with other stuff, that's the jump that I'm having trouble thinking about right now. So normally at this point, I would just start trying things and seeing what works and what breaks, and I would get there. But since I have all of you here watching as well, I'm going to check. I'm just going to give it just a few seconds here, just because of the delay, to see if anybody has any better ideas about this before I start just messing with things. Oh, in the live chat, Mark recommends checking out Visual Studio Code. I actually use that as well. So nice. All right, Fabian comes through. I was hoping that you were still watching, Fabian, since you essentially wrote a lot of this page with that pull request that I merged in yesterday. I was hoping that you would have some insight into that. So, save the data to state, it will trigger a new render. Ah, yes. Now that you say that, it makes so much sense. And this is a good example of, like, I wanted to really do this the React way. I certainly could have used something like jQuery or even just vanilla JavaScript to totally clear this out and then add it. But that's not really what I want to do with React, because then React will lose track of the DOM. React keeps a like a virtual DOM where it has like a copy. Do they call it the shadow DOM? Am I confusing terms here? Anyway, I can't remember. But anyway, there's basically a copy of the DOM that React keeps, and it needs to be able to keep track and keep that in sync. And if you start changing things outside of React, like in a separate JavaScript file with jQuery or something, then they get out of sync. Okay, so then you won't really be taking advantage of all the goodness that React has. So anyway, thank you, Fabian, once again. Okay, John says it is virtual DOM. Okay, so I've heard the term virtual DOM and shadow DOM, and for a minute I just got it mixed up. So what's shadow DOM go with? What am I thinking of now? I can't remember where I've heard that before. All right. I guess it doesn't really matter for what we're doing right now. So, so we need to save. Let me see where we're saving this. This state. Actually, to tell you the truth, I'm looking at this and I'm still not sure. I'm still not 100% sure what I need to do here, because I'm pulling this data in now as props, so it's going to props when this anything in here when I return data goes to props. But if I want to save it to state, wouldn't I need to pull it from like this state data, or am I just missing something here? Let me know. All right, we have some references to the movie Mad Max in the live chat. That's funny. And Rohan says Shadow DOM is for custom elements mostly. Okay. All right. So Fabian is saying in the live chat, yeah, use state data instead of props data. Jonathan in the live chat also says Sublime. So he's referring to the editor Sublime. We actually had, I don't know how many live streams that we've had a similar conversation, and it always does come up. The consensus is Atom loads slowly, Sublime is good, and try Visual Studio Code. Occasionally we get some other ones thrown in there, but that seems to always be the consensus here. Florian says you could use a higher order component too. Florian, I like that suggestion. I don't know enough about higher order components to be confident doing that though. So if anybody's wondering about what a good way to do this would be, you could try out higher order component if you know more about that. But I want to learn more about it. I just don't know it now. So that will be a little bit beyond me at the point. State. All right, so let's see. All right, so Florian's saying, or I'm sorry, Fabian is saying, init the state with props data on component did mount. Oh, awesome, great. Okay, so basically, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna explain this out loud for everybody watching, but also so that I can verify that I understand what Fabian's saying. He can let me know. So basically, right now, the get initial props, just by default, anything that you return from this is going to be set to props, obviously, right? That's what it is, get initial props, right? So that's why down here, I'm doing this props data, right? I'm getting this data. But what we're going to do is on component did mount, we're going to set this data, so this props, right, and this props data, and we're going to set that to the state. So then when we come down here, instead of saying this props data, we say this state data, and it will be the same thing, but that gives us then the ability to change the state in here, and then once there's a change in state there, it'll automatically re-render all of this. Okay, so if that's not Fabian, if that's not what you had in mind, let me know. But I think that's what you're trying to describe to me here, and that makes sense to me. Florian also says a higher order component is just a function which takes a component as an argument and returns another component. And Rohan says Google Dev Resources has some good web components and custom element stuff, and Angular works well with. Oh, okay. Rohan's still talking about Shadow DOM. Okay, so Fabian says the way I just described it, it seems right. Florian, actually, that's a really nice simple explanation of a higher order component. I think I am going to check into those as soon as I get a chance. I'm not going to check into it now on the stream because we're just so close to getting this to work. But thank you for explaining that, and I'm definitely going to check it out. Also, if you have time and you would like to, you're certainly welcome to submit a pull request to this repo with what you had in mind with that too. And anybody watching, certainly you can. If you'd like to contribute, that would be awesome. But otherwise, I definitely do want to learn more about higher order components and how to use them, because I've seen other people do some useful things with them. So, alright, so now where am I at? Component did mounts. Okay, so this. Actually, now when I'm inside component did mount, is this going to mean what it should mean, or do I need to use an arrow function here too? Oh, no. This doesn't exactly look right to me. I'm gonna try it, but let me know. I don't think I did this right. So I need to change it down here too. And let's see. Actually, this is an awesome way to do it, and I'll tell you why in a second. Okay, so I'm doing state here, right? And down here, though, this corresponds to this section here. I don't ever want this section to change, even on search, right? So this section will be populated by props, which is great. And then props will never change, but the state will change. And when the state changes, it'll change all this stuff down here, but it will leave these alone. So I did think earlier when I was thinking about this, I thought I gotta have some way to make sure that these don't change. And whoops, didn't mean to click that. So that will work. That'll ensure that those stay the same, but then everything else changes. Yeah, thanks, Fabian. I knew I was doing that wrong. So Fabian gave me the correct syntax for that. So I knew enough to know it wasn't right, but I didn't know enough to know the right way to do it. Actually, this kind of thing is one of the reasons I was afraid to do live streams at first, because I don't know how it seems to you, but to me it seems like it's really obvious what I don't know. And I was always nervous that everybody's going to see what a noob I am. But it's actually not that bad. I mean, you all are very helpful, and nobody is harassing me about being a noob, and I'm learning a lot of stuff. And these are things that I probably could have spent time looking up, and that would have been fine. That's a legit way to do it, but it would have taken me a lot of time, and I may have tried a lot of other things and given up or tried, so I really, it is really beneficial, even though I'm fully aware that I probably look like a noob right now. All right, so we've set it on component mount. Next step is we need to update the state. That's it, this set state. All right, I totally remember using this at some point in the past now that I see it. Okay, now we need to update the state here with this data. So I think Fabian told me how to do it as well. Okay, to update the state, you have to call set state. So let's say this props data. Okay, so now I need to do, let's get rid of this console log. So you need to do this set state. And I'm assuming it's the same. I should just copy this. Why am I trying to type this? I'm assuming it's the same syntax. I'll find out in a second when I save this, or if I'm corrected in the live chat. And data, this props data. No, I don't want it this props data. I want it to be data. I'm assuming this is, nah, shoot, I should change this, right? Will this mess it up that I'm using the same thing? It doesn't matter. I was originally going to call this WP data anyway. No, WP. So I'll just go with that, and then avoid any potential for that actually just makes it easier to read anyway. So all right, just double checking, and oh, actually, oh, nice. So Fabian and Florian both just let me know. I can just remove the, I can remove this, this set state. And actually, since I'm going to do that, I might as well just switch it back, because now it'll no longer be confusing. At least to me, it was a little bit like if I was reading this later on, or somebody else reading this, I would think that would be slightly confusing if they weren't familiar with what I'd already done. All right, so, and they did mention this is ES6 feature, that this just works to set this. So like normally, like this is actually what we're doing. We're setting, within this object, we're setting data to this props data. So that's what's happening. It's as if I just wrote data, right? But I don't have to. And I assume that's basically similar to what just happened here as well. That this goes to props, data. Okay. Let me save it. And what did I do? This date. Oh, shoot! I never did. I said I was gonna probably have to do it, and then I never did it. I'm assuming that error is because of this. So I need to use the arrow function. If you weren't around when we talked about this before, this arrow function makes sure that when I use this here, it means what I want it to mean. Okay, so basically it means the same thing as when I call this within the render function. It's referring to this as in like this whole component. Correct me if I'm wrong with that, but that's why we use the arrow function in that case. Maybe it didn't work. Maybe that wasn't the issue. Actually, I think I'm just going to restart the server. I think I froze my local server. No, it's still giving me the error. Okay, what have I done? Oh, okay. Ali says bind it within then. That makes sense. All right, so I'm trying to use this within then. So I should use that there as well. Oh, and Florian has said the same thing and given me the syntax. I like that syntax. That's going to look a lot cleaner too. So let's see. Let me get rid of all this stuff and instead put this in here. Great. Okay, so we see we have then data, right? So we have whereas before, I should have left the other one up so I could compare between the two. But basically, what would normally go in the function, like in the brackets where we have the function, just goes here, and we have this arrow, the arrow function here, and now we're just doing this set state data, and now this will mean what we want it to mean. Hopefully, hopefully it'll work. Let me just do. Okay, I'm still getting this up here though. Let me take a better look at this and see. Component to mount. Do I need to? Okay, let me. I'm looking at this. You all can see this too, I'm sure. So basically, I know that this was probably too small. Let me blow up this error so you can see what I'm seeing. Wow, that's too big now. Okay, so unexpected character here. Why am I getting an unexpected character? And this is 37. Yeah, 37.4. Okay. This is going to seem weird, but I'm just going to do this. The only reason I'm doing this is just to see, like, maybe something here is messing this up. I don't think it would be, but that's why I'm just flipping this to the top just to see if I get the same error. Okay. So I'm still getting unexpected character, but now it's this time it's on line. What is going on? Okay, so now I'm getting cannot read property filter undefined 155. All right, let's check this out. 155. Huh. Wait a second. Oh, okay. All right. So basically, this is what's happening. Well, not. Fabian has pointed out in the live chat that this is what's happening. So I don't want to take credit for figuring this out. Basically, like it showed this line here that it was showing was like right where we're trying to have the tabs. I'm not going to go back down, but basically like the tabs that were going across the page that we could click. It's having to do with that. So Fabian saying, now you also need to init state like that, state equals active tab all data, because the first render might bug if state data is not defined. Okay, so let's find where we had these. So we have active tab, state. Equals active tab all data. All right. Yes, at the top. Okay, I was just double checking before I put it in there. So here then, let's see, state equals, I'm just going to copy. So I'm assuming here, shoot. Let me know if I put this in the right spot. This doesn't look right again. I'm pretty sure I didn't put that. Fabian says, LOL, no. All right, so I told you, I knew that wasn't right. Am I putting... At this point, Fabian is like, I feel like he's my coach here. Okay, so I'm scrolling. Fabian's telling me scroll up. So when he said at the top, I thought he meant like at the top of this render function, and then I pasted it there, and obviously that wasn't the right spot. So now I'm scrolling up more. Let's see. The status. Before, okay, that's what I was waiting. Sebastian says before get initial props. Oh, I see it now. I see it. Thanks, Sebastian. Okay, so now I'm pretty sure what I have to do is add it in here. Whoops. Not like that. Need to add it here. So basically the only thing that's added, so we already had this, and then we're adding data. All right. Okay, that makes so much sense now. Sorry about that taking so long, that process. So yeah, obviously this makes sense. Okay, so our states in object, we need this data. So we already had active tab set. Right down here, we were setting data to actually have the value. Okay, but Fabian's saying we might get a bug if we don't have state data defined beforehand. That makes a lot of sense. Let's save it. Okay, and there's some discussion going on in the live chat about constructors and ES7 and initializing state, and I'm not I'm gonna wait and see what the conclusion is to that discussion if it happens before I read out what's going on. Um, all right, let me check what happened here. Whoa. That's crazy. What the heck did I just... Somehow... Anyway, I accidentally just zoomed that into 200. I don't... Oh, I know. I zoomed it in whenever we had the error, and then I didn't zoom it back out. So, anyway. So, that page loaded, and we're not getting... These are like the normal errors that I always get when I'm on the dev server, so I'm not worried about that. And now let's check. Great. Okay, so that should give us nothing. That was kind of an abrupt change there. I mean, just from like a style design standpoint, like I don't like that changed and then went like that. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have to think of something else to put there. But let's see. Like I'm just gonna type in this woman's last name because that'll probably be unique, and we'll see like that this is just gonna give us this. There we go. So it actually gave us that before. I didn't even have to type the whole name in, but you could see that's really fast. That search happened so fast, and that request has to go to WordPress and be processed. WordPress is based on PHP. It has a database. So, that all has to be processed and come back. And it just happens very fast. This is not, I'm not getting this data from like something on my local machine. This is actually going right to the WordPress install that's on DigitalOcean and back. So I don't know about you, but I'm just impressed with the speed of this search. And when I've done this before, like I said, I've never done it in React, but I've done it with jQuery before. And I have had, clients and other people I've worked with have been really impressed with that speed. So if you're using the WordPress API, I definitely recommend doing something like this because, like I said, clients have always been impressed with, first of all, the fact that it auto searches when you're typing in, right? Google search does that, but people expect Google to have impressive things because they're a huge company with lots of money and employees and a lot of talented people. But, when a small business or something, when you do a site for them and now they see that they have a similar kind of thing happen, they're very impressed with that. They like that. At least that's been my experience. So they're impressed that it auto searches and they're impressed with how fast the search comes up. One of my to-dos, I don't know if you caught it, but when I showed you my original code that I had done with jQuery, a long time ago, I had a bunch of to-dos. One of the to-dos was to add some sort of loader so that when people are waiting, it shows this little loader. The reason I never put it in is because no one ever had to wait for longer than, basically it always loaded, and in such a short amount of time, the loader would only appear for a split second, and it wouldn't even matter. So before I kind of stop this, I do want to give credit here. So I know we basically completely redid this in React, but since I showed you this initial code that I had done, this is where I got it from. So if I do get some code from somewhere, I always want to make sure that I give credit, even if I don't really have to based on the license. I still like to. But this is where I got it. So github.com. So it's Bearded Avenger on GitHub. So I've never talked to this person or contacted them or anything. And this code originally was for the WordPress API version 1, which I never used version 1 because I didn't start using the API until version 2 had just come out when I started using it. So I did have to change this to work with version 2, but the basic idea of this live search came from here. So if you did want to do something like this on a site that was, let's say, based on jQuery and wasn't React, then check out that code. It will need to be adapted from version 1. I don't know. Last time I checked, I think there were some pull requests for people trying to adapt it as well, but I don't know that this is maintained. So I don't think any of those pull requests ever got accepted. So I was thinking about doing a pull request as well, but I don't think they're updating it, so it probably wouldn't be. It probably would never get merged in. So basically that works. With like I said, there were some optimizations I wanted to do. I wanted to slow it down a little so it didn't make API requests for every single key up event, like if they were coming really, really quickly. So with the exception of that, which would simply, I would just need like a set timeout on the, like here where we have get search results. We would just need a set timeout, and that's it. It wouldn't be much more than that. And I would also need something in here to, like, let's say, check every time the key up went up, it would check the value, and if the length of the value was greater than 2, it would search. Otherwise, it would do nothing. So basically, the whole thing would be in an if statement that would check for that, and then it would also have a set timeout that would be, I don't know, some amount of milliseconds that I would just have to mess with. So other than that, it's pretty much done. I did mention, and I saw, like, the change was pretty abrupt when you have nothing, so it has, like, this jump. I just don't like that jump, so maybe I'll just have... It might be something as simple as just setting a minimum height for this section so that I don't have such a drastic drop here. That'll probably fix it. That'll be a really simple fix. I don't think I need anything fancy for this. Actually, let me just try that out right now in the inspector. So for everybody who's more front end, like kind of basics oriented, maybe this will be something simple for you all. And as soon as I do this, I'm going to go back to the live chat. I'm going to check and see if there's any questions, and I'm going to answer the questions. And also share anything that's maybe some really valuable advice on the live chat that I haven't shared already. So if you're just here for the live search portion of this, that's pretty much done. We've done everything we needed to. So if you got to go, thanks for watching. I'm on, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, almost always. Occasionally I have a meeting or something happens and I can't stream, but join me again. I'll be doing all kinds of different stuff for this site and for other sites in the future. If you have a little bit of time to stick around for some questions or anything, go ahead and throw your questions in the live chat now, and then I'll get to them as soon as I'm done with this. If you can't stick around and you have a question, put it in the comments below, or you can direct message me on Twitter. The link to my Twitter is in the description for this video. Alright, so this is the section. Let's go with a min height of, 500 pixels. Actually, let's go more. Let me do like 700 pixels. Oops. What did I do here? Now it's not even... Alright, so it's not letting me edit that, which is weird. What are you doing to me, DevTools? I'm going to refresh because I can't edit that. Okay. Alright, so min height, and let's go with 700 pixels. Okay, because I'm okay with that because the section's always going to be like normally really big. It's only going to get smaller if I type in nonsense. I don't know that I like, I don't think I like that still. Let me try that again. That's better. Okay, that's definitely better than it was. I'm not sure that I want this to go down though. So what I have here is this is v-align. So I'm going to take out that class, and this I'm using materialize as the framework. and they have this vertical align classes kind of set up already. And maybe I'll have to take this out as well. See if that does it. There we go. Okay, so that did it. So assuming this doesn't change anything else, that's better. That's what I wanted. Okay, so you see the transition. I don't know if you saw it or if it bugged you all as much as it bugged me, but before, the transition was much more abrupt. The footer actually came all the way up here. Okay, and now it still looks the same normally as it did, but then we change it. The footer actually, you see it a little bit, but it's not a huge jump. You can see we have this still stays at the top. I might actually remove this in the background. I'm not sure if I like it for a big section like that. I didn't notice it before behind all these cards. It was kind of down here. I don't know. I'll think about it. I'll think about it for that section. It doesn't look terrible when you have a lot of cards, but you don't have any cards, it's more noticeable. And yeah, I don't know about it. Also not sure about this having a white background. I might like it better if it didn't. So I mean, those are some really like little CSS changes, like some design changes. So I'm not gonna bother with those right now. Make you wait around for that. But I'm definitely gonna keep this min height in for this section and take out those two things, those two classes that I did. All right, so now let me go to the live chat. I'm going to scroll through. I don't think I'm going to go all the way to the top because I did do a good job of checking back in. But I'm going to go about to the middle of where the live chat is now and just see if I've missed anything. Ooh, also, I do have to double check that this fetch works in older browsers. And so there might be some adjustments made. As soon as this goes, I haven't pushed this to GitHub yet, but as soon as it's on GitHub, you'll be able to see the code, and then you'll be able to check back in, maybe tomorrow or next week and see if I did have to edit it. If I do have to edit it and change it in any way, like if I test it and it doesn't work on some browsers, I'll let you know in one of the streams. But I'm thinking this should work basically without any changes. Okay, Taylor Miller says, I really appreciate your stream. Everyone has things they don't know, or others maybe know better ways of doing things. Thanks for streaming and sharing your thoughts / process with us. Oh, you're welcome, and thanks for that comment. I really appreciate that. Comments like that, they let me know that what I'm doing has value and I should keep doing it. So I know I've said this before, but I'll keep doing these videos as long as my boss keeps letting me do them, which he's happy with me doing them now, so that's probably not going to change. And as long as I think people find value in them. So if you do find value in this, let me know, and I'll keep doing it. Okay, still scrolling down through, making sure I didn't miss anyone's questions. Okay, Florian says, do you use debounce or do you send every time you enter a character request? Yeah, so right now, okay, so you already answered him. But yeah, right now it's on every key, but I definitely don't want it to stay like that. Okay, Sebastian asks, if you delete the value from the input, what will be displayed? And Rohan answered everything, I guess. Yeah, and it is everything. So you'll see right now I have a value in there, but if I delete it, it actually displays everything. I will have to, so I had mentioned before, I want it to not work if there's only like 1 or 2 characters there. I want there to have to be 3 or more characters for this to work. So when I do implement that, then taking everything out won't work because it won't do anything if there's fewer than 3 characters. So I didn't think about that, but I like the fact that it reloads when there's nothing. So what I'll probably have to do is in that if statement, it'll be like if the length of the input value is greater than 2 or 0, then it will do the search. It'll get the data. Otherwise, it won't do anything. Although I am a little bit I'm interested in how I'm getting. Okay, that's how. I just was thinking, like, if I'm searching for nothing, then why is it returning everything? So that must be the default. So if you see, it's probably hard to see because it's small up here, but I just manually did this, put in the search term, and I put in nothing. So basically the same thing that would be put in right now. And then I made the call on nothing. And the default is that for WordPress, the default is if you search for nothing, it returns everything. Right? So that makes, if your search string is literally, nothing, has no characters in it, you'll get that. So good to know. And thanks for bringing that up, Sebastian, because I totally didn't think about that issue, and I'll have to make sure that I add that in. Florian says you could use a debounce function, would be much easier. Okay, +1 for debounce, Patrick. Okay, I've never even heard of a debounce function, so I'm going to look that up. And it seems like you all think that's the way to go. Fabian asks, how do you do debounce function with RxJS or something else? And Florian responded, no, just plain JS. You could find one easily on Google if you're interested in how it works. But if you want to use it, just import it from Lodash. And Patrick gave me a link to debounce function from David Walsh's blog. Awesome. Fabian, thanks. I'm going to check out that link. Sebastian says, get the answer for my question. So you saw that when it happened then. Rohan says you can animate the height to min height so it's even less abrupt. Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll try that. I'll have to let you know. I'm actually I'm getting to the point in this project where I think it's time for me to move on to other projects soon. So, and by that I mean, like, people higher up than me, I think, are expecting me to move on to other projects soon. So, I mean, I showed you all have seen the Trello board. There's still quite a lot of stuff on here. I've started moving things over into this column, and it's like stuff that I kind of thought I might want to do, but now that I think about it, it doesn't really need to happen. So basically, like, I need to get a move on with this and either get some stuff done or figure out what doesn't really need done. So the reason I say that is just simply, like, Rohan, I think the animate height is a good idea. Animate height to min height. But little details like that, I love little details like that, and I want to put it in. But at this point, I may have to decide, like, which should I spend my time on? Now, something like that probably only take like a few minutes to implement. So maybe that'll actually end up in there as well. But I do need to start thinking, like, okay, I know what I want to do to make this site, like, really good, how I really want it. But realistically, like, is it worth my time to do that when there are a lot of other projects that are very important as well that need done? So Also, the fact that there's not really a lot of traffic on this site is causing me to rethink some of the priorities for this site. Like, this site was very important because of the people who had been told about this site were really important people for this university. So it needed to be done. But now, like, I'm kind of thinking, there are some other sites. Like right now, this site gets, I don't know, a few hundred views, and most of that are from you all. I mean, there are sites I could be working on that get in the millions of views, and that would probably have a bigger impact. So if you see me in one of my upcoming streams switch to a different project and you wonder why I've left some of these things undone, that's why. So I don't know. Not exactly code related, but these are things that I guess you have to think about depending on, what type of work you're doing. And, at some point you do just kind of have to say, like, I want to make this project as good as it can be, but you have to stop. You could, like, continually enhance a site forever. There has to be some point to stop. And so for this site, I'm getting close to the point where I think I could stop, and from the user's point of view, the site would be a complete experience. I know there are always things you could do better, from a developer point of view. But really, like, from a user's perspective, this site does look complete. Already. It functions well. There's not very many things more that someone, I think, would expect reasonably from this site. So I just need to add in those few extra things maybe, and then kind of assess where I'm at and what the next project is. All right. I think we're almost to the end of the live chat. Oliver asks, I'm new here. Should I learn Angular, Angular 2/4 or React? He says, or are they basically the same? Oliver, Angular and React aren't the same. I've heard it explained like this. Basically, Angular is like a full MVC framework, right? It's a model view controller framework, right? React would just be the V part of the MVC, so the view part. So I don't think React and Angular are directly comparable in that way. I have minimal work with Angular, so I'm not a really good judge between them. I've seen really good projects built with both of them, and I know there are really good developers that use one or the other, or even both. So I know this is not much of an answer, but it will kind of depend on what you're working on and what you like. Certainly if you try them, I'd say try them both out. Try to do just basic projects in both and see what you like more, because regardless of which one's better, if they're both similar, so one maybe is just a little better than the other for what you're doing, but you really like working with one a lot more, you should go with that one, because if you're going to be spending hours and hours and hours, every day, you want to be doing something that you like, or else it's going to be miserable for you. So anyway, that's my answer. Maybe you all have a better answer to that question, but like I said, I don't know. I haven't built a lot of things with Angular. Actually, I don't think I've ever built anything that actually worked with Angular. I worked with Angular years ago, when it was somewhat newer, and I worked on a project for a while, and it broke, and I couldn't get it to work, and I eventually just abandoned it. So I'm not a good judge of Angular, and it wasn't Angular's fault. It was my inexperience. So, all right, Rohan says, I like your series. I don't know React, and I really had no intention to learn it. but I guess I will now. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm not an advocate of any framework or anything. I started using React. I like React. I like the results I get with it, and I think it's fun to work with. So, yeah, so try it out. Okay. Fabians says, it sounds like a proverb or something like that. And then he's quoting me from earlier. If you search for nothing, you will get everything. Yeah, when you say it like that, it does sound like a proverb. If you search for nothing, you get everything. I'll have to think about that and see if it makes any sense at all. Aside from the context of the WordPress API. I'm not sure right now if that could be applied to any other thing and actually make sense. Rohan says, you do need a hard breakpoint on a project. Otherwise, as designers or developers, you try to keep on adding new stuff to it. Stuff that the user otherwise wouldn't even expect. That's a really good point. That last part of stuff that the user otherwise wouldn't even expect. Let me talk about that for a second, because I think that's a great point. As developers, we know more of what's out there on websites and what's possible. I think that is really good advice to keep in mind. The average user doesn't have that same level of understanding the possibilities of what you can do with websites, right? I mean, as developers, we watch videos of the latest stuff from conferences and things, and we know what's out there. So I think, at least I know from my perspective, I'm hard on myself sometimes because I know a lot of this really awesome stuff that people are doing, and when my sites don't do that, a part of me feels like the site's not good. Because it's not doing the awesome stuff that I've seen other people do. But when I show it to other people, like other people that I work with or family or friends, I often get a really positive response. Not always. I mean, I'm not going to say everybody always loves everything I do, but I usually get a positive response, and people are like, wow, this is great. And I don't always understand it, and I'm not usually always as satisfied with my work as other people are. So I think it's good to keep in mind that the average user has, I want to say, much lower expectations than developers. I don't want it to sound bad, but I think it's simply because that's not their field. Everybody in their own particular field of what they work on, they're going to know more about it. They're going to, I don't know, I guess I could look at a painting and think it's awesome, and then an artist could look at a painting and realize all the stuff that's wrong with it and what should have happened, The same way, a chef would look at a meal in a different way than someone who's not a chef, right? And be able to critique it. So, anyway, thanks for that, Rohan. That was really insightful of you. I'm going to have to keep that in mind for me as well. Arpesh says, which language should I move on, Java or Python? I'm struggling to find which one to opt for. And Rohan responded, Arpesh, if you are talking about college, take Java and learn Python by yourself. Okay. I don't have a lot of experience with Python or Java. My advice on which language to learn is usually based on what do you want to do with it. So some things, as far as I know, Android apps are built with Java. So if, let's say, you really, really want to build Android apps, maybe Java is the way to go. Or if there's a company that you really, it's your dream to work for that company, and you know that they primarily use one language over another, do that. Otherwise, if you don't have any goals like that, then maybe you should go with, maybe look at which language has more jobs? You know, that's a legitimate reason to go with it. Is just check it out, and then finally, what do you enjoy using more? So try them both out a little bit, and then see which one you like. And that's my advice for that. I have worked slightly with Java and Python. Um, Java was so long ago, I really don't even remember much about it. But Python, the thing I really loved about Python, I think I might have mentioned this last week at some point. The thing I loved about Python is the syntax is like mostly based off of indentation. So it was really easy for me to code with Python on my phone. Normally, the way the keyboards are on phones, it's really hard to put in a lot of those special characters, colons, semicolons, and quotation marks. Like, they're not really, like, right there available. But with Python, I didn't need a lot of those things. So I was able to do, like, a lot of, I don't know, like, small, like, algorithm challenges with Python and complete them, like, when I was, like, laying in bed at night before I went to sleep. I would do a couple of algorithm challenges in Python right from my phone. I really like that. I thought that was cool. Once I started to get like into more complex algorithms, it wasn't as doable on my phone, but basic stuff. The Intro to Computer Science course from Udacity uses Python, and that's the course I was taking at the time, and that's what I was using my phone for. So I know that's probably a silly reason to like a language, but I thought it was cool. Oliver says in response to Arpesh's question about Java and Python, Java is harder but faster. Python enables productivity. Personally, I really like Python. Okay. Rohan says, personally, I use Python regularly and love it. Java is important and good, but I don't really like the verbosity of it. I like the Java VM, but the language, not very much. Says, yep, Java is faster than Python, leaps and bounds faster. And then Jesse, nice name, by the way, Jesse Okia, I'm not sure I pronounced the last name, sorry about that, says, I've been playing around with React for a while, but I'm having difficulties with React Router DOM. It returns a 404 when I go directly to the link. Do you know any good documentation or boilerplate to get me started with? I wish I knew more. I haven't worked with React Router enough, and I don't know. I would say if you aren't already using this, try to go with one of the React boilerplates that are popular. Like Create React App is actually from Facebook, and you could try that one. And maybe that would be easier. I haven't used it in a long time. I know there's been a lot of updates. I tried it like when it first came out, and I haven't tried it since. So I don't know for sure how good that is. Or you can try Next, which is what I'm using for this project, and then that handles a lot of the routing for you. I guess it just depends on what you need it for. So sorry I don't have a better answer for you in terms of documentation, but I do like Next. It is somewhat opinionated in terms of like the default router. You have to have a different JavaScript file in the pages folder. But if you see, I don't know if you saw the video where we did some custom routes in our server.js file. And so that we could have parameterized routes for like our blog style news page. So maybe check that out. I don't remember what I called the video, but it was something to do with custom routing and parameterized routing, I think I called it. So maybe check that out just to see how you do routing with Next, with like the custom routing, and see if that would solve your issue. And if it would, then maybe go with Next. Otherwise, I haven't had a lot of experience with the React router to be able to give you a lot of help with it. Oh, okay. Kebian has some good advice as well. So it says you need to configure your server to serve index on every request. Webpack Dev Server has a config for it if you are using that. Okay, awesome. Actually, since we're talking about it, I'll just bring up my server .js just so that you all can see this. I'm not really going to comment on it too much, but um, just in case anyone's interested, how I set up. Oops, did this open? Where did this open at? Oops. I think it opened on this side. Yeah, it did. Okay, so yeah, this is how I have like some of the routes set up. So anyway, like I said, I've done a video where we kind of went over some of this. So this is how I've set up. So this is if you wanted to do some custom routing and use Next at the same time, this is how I do it. So Next routing with these pages still works, but then we also have some other stuff going on where we pass, some, the end of the URL there, we pass that and we make API calls based on that. So, and Arpesh says, okay, thanks. I'll opt for Java in college and learn Python on the side. Awesome. And if you watch Arpesh, if you're watching any other live streams in the future, let us know how things are going with the Java and the Python. And I mean, I don't really do Java or Python on this live stream. I don't have to do it at work, but still, it'd be cool to hear how things are going with trying to learn some other languages. And Fabians says in response to Jesse's question, Webpack Dev Server. Okay, so it's giving like a command. So I'm not going to read out the command. It'll probably not useful to read that out, but thanks. I love that everybody is really kind of helping each other out in the live chat. I think it's awesome. Also, actually, some people from the live chat earlier started in an IRC channel for this. So let me grab this link and put it in here. So I'm like super new with IRC, so I'm not exactly sure how to do everything, but if you're better with it, feel free to join. This is the channel. Just to kind of talk, I'm not on here all the time, but I kind of try to leave it open when I can. And so if anybody wants to chat and help each other out, you can go ahead and check out that channel as well. Rohan does say, if you really want to go tough on yourself and your college has it, go for C++. You'll probably hate it in the beginning, but you'll find everything easier afterwards. That's funny. The only programming course that I ever actually finished in college was a C++ course, and the only thing I remember doing from that course is a calculator. So I did really well in the class. I don't remember very much about C++, but the basic concepts of like loops and things like that, booleans and things, I remember those, and those helped when I later on was getting into JavaScript more. Tony Rain says, I'm currently in uni. So for everybody in the United States, university is uni. So in the United States, they don't say uni, but so just in case you don't know what that is. And I know Java, Python, and learning JS, JavaScript. What do you think I should be prioritizing right now? Should I go to like SQL, C#, or what? My thing is, it kind of depends on what you want to do. If you want to go like full stack and you're learning like some of the JavaScript stuff, learn some database stuff. And then you can pick up some HTML and CSS, and then you basically have a nice like full stack skill set if you really want to keep going for it. I think that would be cool. Oh, Tony says sorry, Canadian. Don't apologize for it. I knew what it meant, mostly just because of watching people from other countries on YouTube. I watch a lot of cooking shows on YouTube, and they're usually always people from other countries. So anyway, I just wanted to help out people who may not know what that meant. So no need to apologize. Oh, cool. Arpesh says, I'll keep you updated about my small adventure. Thank you. Awesome. I appreciate that. Patrick says, when I did my CS degree, I wrote plenty of Java, but opted for C whenever I had the choice because it was harder. Yeah, C. So I started taking the CS50 computer science course from Harvard. It's like their online course that a ton of people take. They use C, like at the beginning. They use a couple different languages, but one of the languages they use is C. And that's the first time I've ever been exposed to like, just basic old school C. And it definitely made me appreciate JavaScript and other like kind of more modern languages, because it's definitely is harder. It's harder to even do like basic things. Yeah, you'll appreciate things. Patrick said, and it gives you more experience with how a computer actually works. Totally agree. Tony says, yeah, I'm trying to learn JavaScript, HTML, CSS all at once right now. Also trying to throw in some SQL and yeah, I got you. All right, awesome. Glad I could help a little bit. Actually, I want to ask you guys this because I've heard it different ways. Do you say SQL or do you say SQL? Let me know. I'd like to say it the right way and not sound like a noob. But as I've said before, I don't know if you know, there's not really. It's pretty much me and like one other person that does all the stuff here, and we're both very much like learning as we go. So I don't have a lot of people to talk to about this. So I don't ever hear these terms spoken out loud. Okay. Patrick says SQL. All right, I like to say SQL, but occasionally I'll say SQL to somebody and they look at me really funny, like, what are you talking about? Okay, Rohan says SQL. Okay. All right, so I guess there's a mix. So I guess it's acceptable to say it either way, SQL or SQL. Thanks for the feedback. Jesse says, thanks a lot, guys. That was really helpful. Awesome. I'm glad we could help. Rohan says, lower level language isn't usually practical, but you get a lot more insight as to how stuff works underneath. Yeah, totally agree, Rohan. Rohan says, basic SQL isn't that hard usually. Yeah, I haven't had to work with SQL directly very often. I've done like, in the context of WordPress, I've like manually copied some databases and things like that. I've done that from the command line before, and also through like the PHP my admin panel. So I've done that either way. Yeah, it wasn't that difficult to do. It's just a little different, but nothing a Google search couldn't solve, so it didn't take me that long to do it. And actually, the hardest part was I had something weird with like the table names were off, so that was like my problem that took me a long time. If I had just double checked the table names were correct, it would have taken me like no time at all. Okay, although Patrick says SQL, he also says Postgres SQL. So either way. So anyway, yeah, the consensus seems to be that there is no consensus on how to say SQL or SQL. Jesse asks, MongoDB or SQL, which do you think is more productive? I'm not going to be able to answer this one myself because I don't have enough experience with databases, so maybe someone else in the live chat can answer. Or I'm probably going to end this stream pretty soon because this has been a super long stream. Very productive, but long. And I need to... Yeah, I wanted to stop at the store before I got home, and I'm feeling super tired right now. So I'm going to wrap it up soon. So if anybody has some good advice on between MongoDB and SQL for Jesse, put it down in the... and I'm not speaking in like... what do they call it in the third person here, first person? So Jesse Okeya, it's a different Jesse in the live chat, in case you're watching this later and can't see the name. But anyway, if you have any advice or responses to any of the questions we've been going over, and you're watching this later when it's recorded, put some answers in the comments. I read the comments for sure, and I imagine some of the other people in the live stream, live chat, read the comments. So that would be awesome. And then you could join in even though you can't make it when it's live. Rohan says, not much experience, but NoSQL can be hard in many cases to implement. Let's see. I'm sorry. I'm not sure how to pronounce this name. I apologize if I mess it up. Mamadou, sorry, says MongoDB is a SGBD and SQL is a request language. I don't know what SGBD stands for, so I'm not really sure what. Maybe you could put the. Okay. So sorry, can't speak English very well. Oh, that was fine. I could understand it. I just don't know what that acronym means. Umberto says one of the main questions to ask is whether you know the structure of your data to begin with. Croniz says, have you tried Firebase? I haven't tried Firebase. I'm not sure if that was directed at Jesse for his question about databases, then I don't really know. But okay, I am, since a minute ago I checked the time and realized how late it was, I'm going to wrap this up. So I got to go to the store. One of my coworkers really had my back and turned in my credit card statements for me when I was sick last week, and so I promised her that I would pay her back, and she requested that I cook something. So, in case you didn't know, I happen to be a good cook. So anyway, so she saw I made some stuff on my Instagram and she requested it, so I have to go to the store and pick that up before I go home. And anyway, this was awesome. This was something, setting up the live. There's too many things live going on here. What was I going to say? Setting up the live search was something that I kind of was like, I thought it might take a long time to really do it the right way in React. And this didn't take very much time at all, thanks to your help. I really appreciate that. You helped. I would not have been able to accomplish what I did today if it weren't for you all. That was awesome. So I'm going to, Rohan said it's 2 a.m. here. I've been up for 22 hours. Wow, okay, I'm definitely ending this stream so Rohan can go to sleep. So, wow, that's dedication. Thanks for staying up late and watching this. Yeah, all right, so thank you for watching. I should be back tomorrow. Like I said, I'm still not feeling very well, but hopefully I'll feel well enough to come into work tomorrow and I'll do the stream. And like I said, any questions or anything you didn't get to ask, throw it in the description or throw it in the comments below or direct message me on Twitter. Thanks for watching and have a great day.